The Art of Winning, How to Win at Everything You Do, published by Timeless Audiobook. Introduction. Winning is not something you stumble into. Winning is something you build, step by step, decision by decision, day by day. The title of this audiobook is The Art of Winning, because winning is not only about talent or intelligence. It is an art, a skill, a mindset, a personal code that separates those who live with purpose from those who live by accident. To win at everything you do does not mean you will never fail. It means you will learn how to respond when life tests you. It means you will stop allowing fear to make your choices. It means you will stop leaving your future in the hands of luck, moods, or motivation, because real winners don't wait for perfect conditions. They create conditions. This audiobook is not here to entertain you with fancy theories. It is here to challenge you. It is here to sharpen you. It is here to push you into the kind of thinking that produces results. The world does not reward potential. It rewards preparation. It rewards discipline. It rewards action. In this audiobook, we will break down the habits, mental strategies, and daily principles that winners live by. You will learn how to raise your standards, train your mind for pressure, develop discipline that doesn't negotiate, and build skills that make you valuable in any room you walk into. You will learn how to turn failure into fuel, how to think strategically, how to protect your energy, and how to make winning your identity. This is not about becoming perfect. This is about becoming consistent, becoming strong, becoming the kind of person who does not fold when things get hard. Because life will test you, and the question is simple: will you break or will you rise? If you apply what you are about to hear, your mindset will change, your habits will change, and your results will change. Not someday, not next year. Starting now, let's begin. Chapter 1. Choose to play to win. Everything changes the moment you decide how you are going to play the game of your life. Not when you feel confident, not when conditions improve, not when someone gives you permission. It changes when you decide, because until you make that decision, you are only reacting, you are surviving, you are drifting. And drifting never leads to winning. Playing to win means you stop treating your life casually. It means you stop showing up halfway. It means you stop doing things just to get by. When you choose to play to win, you raise the level of seriousness you bring to your days. Your work becomes intentional. Your habits become deliberate. Your thinking becomes sharper. You stop asking, "Will this work?" and start asking, "What must I do to make this work?" Many people live as if life is something that happens to them. Winners live as if life is something they shape. That difference alone changes everything. Playing to win does not mean you become aggressive or arrogant. It means you become responsible. It means you own your results, good or bad, and you stop blaming circumstances, people, or timing. When you play not to lose, you make safe choices, you avoid risk, you hesitate, you stay comfortable. But comfort slowly weakens you. Playing to win requires courage. It requires you to accept that mistakes will happen, setbacks will come, and fear will show up. But you move anyway. You don't wait until fear disappears. You move with fear in the room. Choosing to play to win also means you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop making excuses sound reasonable. You stop lowering your goals to match your effort. Instead, you raise your effort to match your goals. You don't say, "I'll try." You say, "I will figure it out." That shift in language is not small. It is powerful. It trains your mind to look for solutions instead of exits. This choice affects the smallest parts of your life. How you wake up, how you prepare, how you speak to yourself, how you handle resistance. When you play to win, you don't need someone to watch you to do the right thing. You hold yourself to a higher standard, even when no one else is paying attention, especially when no one else is paying attention. There will be days when you don't feel like winning, days when you feel tired, distracted, or discouraged. Playing to win does not mean those days disappear. It means those days no longer control you. You act according to your decision, not your emotions. You remember who you decided to be. Understand this clearly. Choosing to play to win does not guarantee immediate success. What it guarantees is progress, growth, momentum, and momentum changes everything. Momentum builds confidence. Momentum builds clarity. Momentum turns effort into results. You don't need to be the best today. You don't need to know everything today. You don't need perfect plans. What you need is a clear decision, a firm line in your mind that says, I am no longer playing small. I am no longer drifting. I am here to win. Once you make that choice, life responds differently. Opportunities appear where hesitation used to live. Strength replaces doubt. Direction replaces confusion. This chapter is not about hype. It is about commitment. Quiet, serious commitment. So decide now. Decide how you are going to play, because from this point forward, everything builds on that choice.
Chapter 2. Raise your standards immediately. If you want to win at everything you do, you must understand one truth that most people avoid. Your life will never rise above the standards you accept. Not your dreams, not your wishes, not your intentions, your standards. Because standards are what you tolerate. Standards are what you allow. Standards are what you repeat without even thinking. You can say you want a better life, but if your standards stay low, your results will stay low. You can say you want success, but if you keep accepting laziness, distraction, and excuses, then you are not walking toward success. You are walking in circles. And many people live exactly like that. They want more, but they live like less is enough. Raising your standards means you stop being satisfied with the minimum. It means you stop rewarding yourself for half effort. It means you stop calling basic responsibility hard work. Because the world is full of people who congratulate themselves for doing what they should have been doing all along. And that mindset is dangerous. It keeps you weak while making you feel comfortable. Standards are not something you talk about. Standards are something you live by. When you raise your standards, you begin to ask different questions. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" And you start asking, "What kind of person must I become to do this consistently?" You stop asking, "Is this good enough?" And you start asking, "Is this the best I can do with what I have right now?" Your standards shape your daily behavior. They shape how you treat your body, how you manage your time, how you speak, how you work, how you respond when you feel tired, how you respond when nobody is watching. And the most important part is this: your standards decide your identity. If you tolerate weakness, you become weak. If you tolerate excuses, you become an excuse maker. If you tolerate distraction, you become unfocused. But if you tolerate discipline, you become disciplined. If you tolerate growth, you become unstoppable. Raising your standards immediately means you stop waiting for motivation. You stop waiting for the perfect time. You stop waiting until you feel inspired. You decide that from this day forward, you are going to live differently. Not gradually, not someday, now. Because standards don't rise slowly. Standards rise with a decision. Let me make it simple. If your room is always messy, that is not a cleanliness problem. That is a standard problem. If you always show up late, that is not a time problem. That is a standard problem. If you keep eating unhealthy food, skipping workouts, and feeling tired all the time, that is not a knowledge problem. That is a standard problem. Because you already know what to do. You already know what is right, but you are allowing what is easy. And this is where winning begins. Winners don't necessarily have better opportunities. They have better standards. They don't always have more talent. They have more self-respect. They refuse to live below what they are capable of. They refuse to let their emotions run their schedule. They refuse to build a life that they secretly feel ashamed of. When you raise your standards, you start doing things that feel uncomfortable at first. You wake up earlier than you want to. You cut off distractions that used to entertain you. You stop wasting your evenings. You stop spending time with people who drain you. You stop giving energy to things that do not build your future. And yes, it will feel strange. It will feel like you are leaving an old version of yourself behind. Because you are. The truth is, many people stay stuck because they fear what raising their standards will require. They know it will demand more discipline, more responsibility, more focus, more sacrifice. And they are right. But what they fail to understand is that low standards also demand sacrifice. Low standards demand that you sacrifice your future. Low standards demand that you sacrifice your confidence. Low standards demand that you sacrifice your potential. And that is the most expensive sacrifice of all. Raising your standards is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming consistent. It is about making your daily choices match your future goals. It is about living with a level of seriousness that your past self never had. Because once you raise your standards, you stop doing things that create regret. Here is one powerful rule. If something does not support the life you want, it must be reduced, removed, or replaced. That applies to habits. That applies to friendships. That applies to how you spend your money. That applies to how you spend your time. That applies to how you speak to yourself. Because your standards are not only about your actions, they are also about your mindset. A person with low standards speaks to themselves in a weak way. They say, "I can't." They say, "It's too hard." They say, "Maybe later." But a person with high standards speaks differently. They say, "I will handle it." They say, "I will improve." They say, "I will not quit." This is also where self-respect is born. Self-respect is not something you wait to feel. It is something you earn through your own behavior. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your standards rise. Every time you do what you said you would do, your confidence grows. Every time you resist temptation and stay focused, your mind becomes stronger. And eventually, your new standards become your normal. That is the goal. Not to force yourself forever, but to make excellence your baseline, to make discipline your identity, to make effort automatic. So raise your standards immediately. Raise them in your work, raise them in your health, raise them in your focus, raise them in your relationships, raise them in your attitude. Stop accepting what weakens you. Stop tolerating what holds you back. Stop living as if you have unlimited time. Because when your standards rise, your entire life rises with them. And when your standards stay high, winning becomes less of a struggle and more of a lifestyle.
Chapter 3. Train your mind for pressure. If you want to win at everything you do, you must learn how to perform when life gets heavy. Because pressure is not a rare event. Pressure is part of life. It shows up in deadlines, in financial stress, in competition, in rejection, in unexpected problems, and in moments when everything feels uncertain. The question is not whether pressure will come. The question is what you will become when it arrives. Most people think pressure is something to avoid. Winners know pressure is something to train for. They understand that pressure does not create weakness. Pressure reveals it. When the heat turns up, the real you shows up. Not the version of you that talks big when things are easy. The real you. And that is why training your mind is one of the most important skills you will ever develop. A weak mind collapses under pressure. It panics. It overthinks. It complains, it runs in circles, it imagines worst-case scenarios, it becomes emotional and forgets logic. But a trained mind does something different. A trained mind stays calm, it focuses on solutions, it controls its breathing, it controls its attention, it controls its attitude, and because it stays controlled, it stays powerful. Pressure is not always loud. Sometimes pressure is quiet. It is the pressure of being behind in life, the pressure of seeing other people succeed, the pressure of feeling like time is running out, the pressure of carrying responsibilities on your shoulders, the pressure of knowing you have potential but not seeing results yet. That kind of pressure can break a person from the inside if their mind is not trained. Training your mind for pressure begins with one simple habit: learning to pause. When pressure hits, your emotions will try to take control immediately. Fear will speak first, doubt will speak first, stress will speak first, but you must learn to pause and say, "Not yet. I will think before I react." That pause is power. That pause is what separates a winner from a person who collapses. Under pressure, most people lose because they lose control of their thoughts. They let one negative thought become 10. They let one setback become a disaster. They let one bad moment become a bad week. But a winner does not do that. A winner learns to contain the damage. They say, "This is a problem, but it is not the end." They say, "This is difficult, but I am still standing." They say, "This is heavy, but I am heavier." That is mental strength. Not pretending pressure does not exist, but refusing to be dominated by it. Another key to handling pressure is learning to focus on what you can control. Under pressure, your mind will try to control everything at once. It will worry about the outcome, the future, what people will think, what might go wrong, what might happen next. But you cannot control all of that. And the moment you try, you become overwhelmed. So you must train yourself to ask one powerful question: what is the next best move? Not the perfect move, not the easiest move, the next best move. When you focus on the next step, pressure becomes manageable. When you focus on everything at once, pressure becomes crushing. This is why winners are not always the smartest people in the room. They are often the calmest. They are often the most composed. They are the ones who can think clearly while others are drowning in emotion. And composure is not something you are born with. Composure is trained. You train composure through small daily battles. You train it by doing hard things on purpose. You train it by staying disciplined when you feel lazy. You train it by showing up when you feel tired. You train it by doing the uncomfortable workout, making the difficult phone call, having the honest conversation, staying focused when distractions are screaming for your attention. Every time you push through discomfort, you are training your mind to handle pressure, because pressure is nothing more than discomfort with higher stakes. And if you cannot handle discomfort in small moments, you will struggle when the stakes are high. You also train your mind by how you speak to yourself. Under pressure, your inner voice becomes your greatest weapon or your greatest enemy. If your inner voice is weak, it will say, "I can't handle this." It will say, "This is too much." It will say, "I always fail." But if your inner voice is trained, it will speak like a leader. It will say, "Stay calm." It will say, "Think clearly." It will say, "We've been through worse." It will say, "Handle what's in front of you." Notice that word, handle. Winners handle things. They do not collapse. They do not fall apart. They do not surrender their mind to chaos. And here is something important. Pressure is not always the enemy. Pressure can be a gift. Pressure forces you to grow. Pressure forces you to become sharper. Pressure forces you to focus. Many people only become serious when life squeezes them, and sometimes that squeeze is what saves them. It wakes them up. It removes their excuses. It reveals their strength. But only if they respond correctly. If you want to win, you must stop seeing pressure as a sign that something is wrong. Pressure is often a sign that something important is happening. Pressure means you are in the arena. Pressure means you are doing something that matters. Pressure means you are moving toward a higher level. So don't run from pressure. Train for it, expect it, respect it, and prepare your mind for it. Because when your mind is trained, pressure stops being a threat. It becomes fuel. It becomes a test you are ready for. It becomes a challenge that sharpens you instead of breaking you. And once you can stay calm in chaos, once you can think clearly under stress, once you can keep moving while others freeze, you will realize something powerful. Winning is not about having an easier life. Winning is about becoming strong enough to handle a harder one. Chapter 4. Take action before you feel ready. One of the greatest reasons people fail in life is not because they lack talent and not because they lack intelligence. They fail because they keep waiting, waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel prepared, waiting for the right moment, waiting for the fear to disappear, waiting for someone to support them, waiting for life to become easier. And while they wait, the world moves forward without them. Winning does not come to the person who waits. Winning comes to the person who moves. If you want to win at everything you do, you must develop the ability to take action before you feel ready. Because readiness is not something you feel first. Readiness is something you build through movement. Confidence does not come from thinking. Confidence comes from doing. It comes from proof. It comes from showing yourself, again and again, that you are capable of handling challenges. The problem is, most people think they need clarity before they act. But the truth is, clarity often comes after action. You start walking, and then the path becomes visible. You begin the project, and then the ideas appear. You take the first step, and then the next step makes sense. But if you stand still, your mind will create endless questions, endless doubts, endless reasons to delay. Hesitation is expensive. It costs you time, it costs you opportunities, it costs you momentum, and momentum is one of the most powerful forces in life. Once you build momentum, everything becomes easier. But if you never start, you never build it. Let's be honest, fear is the main reason people hesitate. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, fear of being judged, fear of making mistakes, fear of wasting time, fear of not being good enough. Fear has many faces, but its mission is always the same. Fear wants to keep you small. Fear wants to keep you safe. Fear wants to keep you comfortable. But comfort is not where winning lives. Winners do not wait until they are fearless. They act while fear is present. They act while doubt is whispering. They act while their hands are shaking, because they understand something powerful. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement in spite of fear. Think about it. If you only act when you feel ready, then your life will be controlled by your emotions. And emotions change every day. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel weak. Some days you feel motivated. Some days you feel tired. But winners don't let feelings decide their future. They let decisions decide their future. This is why taking action before you feel ready is such a critical skill. It trains your mind to trust discipline more than mood. It trains you to become reliable, not reliable for other people, but reliable for yourself. And self-reliability is one of the most important foundations of success. When you take action early, you also gain something that waiting can never give you: experience. You learn what works. You learn what doesn't. You learn what you need to improve. You learn what you need to stop doing. You learn what your strengths are. You learn what your weaknesses are, and you learn faster than the person who is still sitting on the sidelines, planning and thinking. Many people waste years preparing for a life they never start. They collect information, they watch videos, they read books, they talk about their goals, they imagine success, but they never execute. And without execution, all that knowledge becomes useless. The world does not reward preparation alone, it rewards performance. Taking action before you feel ready also means accepting imperfection. You must be willing to start messy. You must be willing to look like a beginner. You must be willing to fail, adjust, and improve. Because perfection is not a goal. Perfection is a trap. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you delaying. It keeps you dreaming. Instead of building, you don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. You need to be moving. A winner understands that mistakes are part of the process. Mistakes are not a sign that you are not meant for success. Mistakes are a sign that you are learning. The only people who don't make mistakes are the people who don't try. And those people don't win. They don't grow. They don't build. They only watch life pass by. Now here is another truth. Your mind will always try to protect you from discomfort. That is how the human brain works. It wants safety. It wants familiarity. It wants easy. But if you want to win, you must train yourself to override that instinct. You must become the kind of person who says, "I know this is uncomfortable, but I'm doing it anyway." That decision is where your power begins. Action is a weapon. Action breaks fear. Action creates confidence. Action creates results. And action builds identity. Every time you act, you are voting for the person you want to become. Every time you take the hard step, you are becoming stronger. Every time you do what most people avoid, you are separating yourself from the crowd. You will never feel fully ready, not for the big goal, not for the big opportunity, not for the big challenge, and that is okay. You are not supposed to feel ready. You are supposed to grow into readiness. Start now. Start where you are. Start with what you have. Start even if you feel uncertain. Start even if you feel nervous. Start even if you don't have a perfect plan, because the greatest victories in life are not built by people who wait. They are built by people who move. So let this be your rule. When you know what you should do, do it. Don't delay. Don't negotiate. Don't wait for the mood. Take action immediately, because the moment you begin is the moment you start winning. Chapter 5. Build discipline that never negotiates. If there is one skill that guarantees success in any area of life, it is discipline. Not talent, not luck, not intelligence. Discipline, because discipline is what turns your goals into reality when motivation disappears. And motivation will disappear. That is not a possibility. That is a promise. Motivation is emotional. It comes in waves. Some days you wake up hungry, inspired, and ready to conquer the world. Other days you wake up tired, distracted, and unsure. If your life depends on motivation, your progress will always be unstable. But if your life is built on discipline, your progress becomes unstoppable. Discipline is not just about working hard. Discipline is about doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. It is about obeying your goals more than your moods. It is about training yourself to follow through. And that is why discipline is so rare, because most people negotiate with themselves every day. They say, "I'll start tomorrow." They say, "I'll do it later." They say, "I deserve a break." They say, "Just this once." And every time they negotiate, they lose a little strength. Every time they negotiate, they weaken their own authority. They teach themselves that their word does not matter. But winners live differently. Winners don't negotiate with weakness. Winners don't argue with their responsibilities. They don't debate whether they should do what they already know is necessary. They just do it. Not because it's easy, not because they enjoy it. They do it because that's who they are. Discipline is identity. It is a personal law. It is a standard you do not break. Now, let's clear up a misunderstanding. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is not misery. Discipline is not forcing yourself to suffer for no reason. Discipline is self-respect. Discipline is self-leadership. It is your ability to command yourself. And if you cannot command yourself, then life will command you. Other people will command you. Circumstances will command you. Your cravings will command you. Your laziness will command you. And that is not freedom. That is slavery. To build discipline that never negotiates, you must first understand that your mind will always look for shortcuts. It will always look for comfort. It will always try to escape discomfort. That is why discipline is not something you build once. Discipline is something you practice daily. Think of discipline like a muscle. If you use it, it grows stronger. If you avoid it, it becomes weak. The first few days of discipline are always the hardest because your mind is not trained yet. Your old habits fight back. Your old comfort zone screams for attention. Your brain tells you, stop, rest, delay. But if you keep going, something powerful happens. Your discipline becomes automatic. It becomes your normal. And when discipline becomes your normal, winning becomes easier. One of the most effective ways to build discipline is to start making small promises to yourself and keeping them. Not huge promises that you break after 3 days. Small promises. Simple commitments. Wake up at a certain time. Read 10 pages a day. Work out for 20 minutes. Avoid junk food for 1 week. Focus for 1 hour without distraction. These small wins build trust in yourself. They build momentum. They build self-belief. Because the biggest confidence is not the confidence you get from compliments. It is the confidence you get from knowing you can rely on yourself. Another important part of discipline is learning to delay pleasure. Winners don't chase instant comfort. They chase long-term results. They understand that the life they want will require sacrifice today, and they accept that sacrifice without complaining. They don't feel sorry for themselves. They don't act like discipline is unfair. They understand that every reward has a price. If you want a strong body, you must pay with training. If you want financial success, you must pay with patience and consistency. If you want respect, you must pay with character. If you want mastery, you must pay with repetition. There is no shortcut. There is no magic formula. There is only the price. Discipline means you are willing to pay it. But here is what makes discipline powerful. Discipline does not only create results. Discipline creates peace. Because when you live with discipline, you don't feel guilty. You don't feel regret. You don't feel like you wasted your day. You go to bed knowing you earned your rest. That is a different kind of satisfaction. A deeper satisfaction. Now let's talk about one of the biggest enemies of discipline, emotional excuses. Emotional excuses sound reasonable, but they are poison. They say things like, I'm too tired. I had a stressful day. I'll do it when I feel better. I deserve to relax. And yes, sometimes rest is necessary. But most of the time, these excuses are just comfort, disguised as logic. Winners learn to separate real exhaustion from mental resistance. They learn the difference between needing rest and wanting comfort. And that difference is where discipline is built. Discipline that never negotiates also means you stop making decisions every day. You create rules. You create structure. Because if you leave your life open to daily decision-making, you will eventually make weak decisions. Your mind will get tired. Your willpower will fade. But when you create rules, you remove the debate. A disciplined person doesn't wake up and ask, should I work today? They already know. A disciplined person doesn't wake up and ask, should I train today? They already know. A disciplined person doesn't ask, should I stay focused? They already know. That is the power of non-negotiable discipline. It removes the argument. It removes the excuse. It creates automatic success. So remember this, discipline is not something you wait for. Discipline is something you decide. You decide that your goals matter more than your comfort. You decide that your future is more important than your mood. You decide that your standards are not optional. And when you make that decision, and you repeat it daily, something incredible happens. Your life becomes structured. Your mind becomes strong. Your confidence becomes real. And your results begin to speak for you. Because in the end, discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. And that bridge is built one non-negotiable day at a time. Chapter 6. Learn the game before you compete. One of the smartest things you can do in life is learn the rules before you step into the arena. Because many people fail, not because they are weak, but because they are unaware. They walk into the game of money, career, relationships, business, health, and personal growth without understanding how the game works. And then they wonder why they keep losing. Winning is not only about effort, winning is about understanding. If you play a game without knowing the rules, you will make mistakes that cost you years. You will waste energy. You will chase the wrong goals. You will fight the wrong battles. You will follow the wrong people. And worst of all, you will repeat the same mistakes while calling it bad luck. But it is not bad luck. It is lack of knowledge. This chapter is about becoming a student of life. Not the kind of student who collects information and does nothing, but the kind of student who learns, applies, improves, and adapts. Winners are always learning. They are always watching patterns. They are always paying attention. They treat life like a classroom and experience like a teacher. Think about it. In sports, nobody becomes a champion by guessing. They study the game. They learn strategies. They train with structure. They watch their opponents. They review their mistakes. They sharpen their skills. And life is the same. If you want to win at anything, you must understand the principles behind it. If you want to win financially, you must understand money. You must understand budgeting, investing, saving, and risk. If you want to win in business, you must understand value, marketing, people, and execution. If you want to win in health, you must understand nutrition, movement, rest, and consistency. If you want to win in relationships, you must understand communication, trust, boundaries, and emotional maturity. Every area has rules. Every area has patterns, and those who learn the patterns win. The problem is, many people want results without understanding. They want success without studying. They want progress without patience. They want victory without preparation. But the world does not work that way. The world rewards those who respect the process. So how do you learn the game before you compete? First, you must become humble enough to admit that you don't know everything. Pride blocks learning. Pride makes people ignore advice. Pride makes people repeat mistakes. But humility opens the door to growth. When you accept that you have more to learn, you begin to improve faster. Second, you must learn from people who already have the results you want. Not from people who talk about success. Not from people who post motivational quotes. Learn from those who have done it. Those who have built something real. Those who have lived through failure and come out wiser. A true winner is not ashamed to learn. A true winner is not embarrassed to be a beginner. And learning does not always require direct mentorship. Sometimes you learn through books. Sometimes you learn through biographies. Sometimes you learn through observation. Sometimes you learn by studying the habits of successful people. Sometimes you learn by watching what works and what fails in the lives of others. Wisdom is everywhere, if you have the eyes to see it. One of the most powerful forms of learning is simply paying attention. Most people live distracted. Their minds are constantly entertained, constantly scrolling, constantly consuming noise. They are not paying attention to life. They are not observing consequences. They are not studying outcomes. They are too busy reacting, but winners observe. They watch carefully. They notice what habits produce success and what habits produce failure. They notice what kind of thinking leads to growth and what kind of thinking leads to regret. They notice patterns in people. They notice patterns in themselves. And this awareness becomes an advantage. Now here is an important truth. Learning the game is not about collecting endless information. It is about learning what matters. The best learners are not the ones who know everything. They are the ones who know the most important things and apply them consistently. In other words, it's not about reading 50 books and doing nothing. It's about reading one book and applying it until your life changes. It's not about listening to advice and feeling inspired. It's about listening to advice and building discipline. Real learning is measured by results. Another key part of learning the game is learning from your own mistakes. Many people make mistakes and then bury them. They pretend it didn't happen. They blame others. They complain. They move on without reflection. And because they do not learn the lesson, they repeat the same pain. But winners treat mistakes like feedback. They ask, "What did this teach me?" They ask, "What should I do differently next time?" They ask, "Where did I lose control?" They ask, "What was my weak point?" And then they improve. They don't make the same mistake twice if they can help it. This is how experience becomes wisdom. Experience alone is not enough. Some people live 30 years and learn nothing. But when you combine experience with reflection, you grow faster than most people ever will. You must also learn how to think critically. Not everything you hear is true. Not every popular opinion is wise. Not every loud voice is correct. The world is full of advice, but much of it is shallow. Winners learn to question things. They learn to test ideas. They learn to evaluate information based on results, not popularity. That is why learning the game is such a powerful advantage. It makes you harder to fool. It makes you harder to manipulate. It makes you more strategic. It gives you clarity, and clarity creates speed. When you understand the rules, you move faster. You waste less time. You make better decisions. You avoid unnecessary mistakes. You know what matters and what doesn't. You stop chasing distractions. You focus on what works. The truth is simple. Life is competitive. Even if you don't want to compete, you are competing. You are competing against time. You are competing against distraction. You are competing against your old habits. You are competing against the version of yourself that wants comfort. And if you want to win, you must become prepared. So treat your life like a game worth mastering. Learn the rules. Learn the strategies. Learn the principles. Learn the habits that create success. And once you learn them, apply them with discipline. Because when preparation meets action, winning becomes inevitable. Chapter 7. Control your time like a commander. If you want to win at everything you do, you must first win the battle against wasted time. Because time is not just a resource. Time is your life. Every hour you waste is an hour you will never get back. Every day you waste is a day you will never relive. And the people who succeed are not always the most talented. They are often the most intentional with their time. Time does not care about your feelings. Time does not slow down because you are tired. Time does not pause because you are confused. Time keeps moving. And that is why time must be treated with respect. A winner understands this deeply. A winner understands that managing time is not about being busy. It is about being effective. Most people wake up and let life decide their day. They check their phone, respond to messages, scroll through distractions, and react to whatever appears. Their schedule is controlled by other people's demands. Their attention is controlled by entertainment. Their energy is controlled by their emotions. And at the end of the day, they feel tired but accomplished nothing meaningful. That is not productivity. That is chaos. A commander does not live like that. A commander leads. A commander decides. A commander plans. A commander takes control before the battle begins. and your day is a battle. Not always a loud battle, but a battle against distraction, comfort, laziness, temptation, and wasted energy. Controlling your time like a commander begins with one key idea. Your priorities must be scheduled, not wished for. Many people have dreams, but their schedule does not reflect those dreams. They say they want success, but they spend their best hours doing nothing. They say they want financial freedom, but they waste their evenings on entertainment. They say they want a strong body, but they never make time to train. Their words sound powerful, but their calendar tells the truth. If you want to win, your calendar must match your goals. The first step to controlling time is understanding what matters most. Not what feels urgent. Not what feels comfortable. What truly matters. Your health matters. Your skills matter. Your income matters. Your family matters. Your mindset matters. Your future matters. And those things require time, real time, protected time. A commander does not allow distractions to invade the mission, and you must treat distractions like enemies, because distractions are not harmless. They slowly steal your future. They steal your focus. They steal your potential. They steal your confidence. And they do it in a way that feels innocent. One video, one scroll, one unnecessary conversation, one wasted hour, then another, and suddenly years pass. So you must become ruthless with your time. This does not mean you become cold or robotic. It means you become intentional. It means you stop living on autopilot. It means you stop letting small pleasures destroy big dreams. One of the greatest habits you can build is planning your day before it begins. Winners do not wake up and improvise. They wake up with purpose. Even if the plan is simple, it creates direction. When you have direction, you move faster. When you have no direction, you waste time deciding what to do next. And the truth is, decision fatigue is real. The more decisions you make throughout the day, the weaker your mind becomes. That is why routines are powerful. A routine reduces unnecessary thinking. It makes success automatic. You wake up, you know what to do. You start working, you know what matters. You train your body, you know the plan. You don't waste mental energy debating with yourself. A commander does not debate with himself every morning. He follows the mission. Another part of controlling time is learning to protect your best hours. Every person has peak hours, the time of day when their mind is sharpest and their energy is strongest. For some people, it's morning. For others, it's late afternoon. But winners identify those hours and use them wisely. They don't waste their peak hours on small tasks. They use them for deep work. They use them for skill building. They use them for progress. Because deep work is where winning is built. Deep work is where results are created. Deep work is where your future is shaped. But deep work requires one thing: focus. And focus is rare today. The world is designed to destroy your attention. Notifications, messages, social media, constant entertainment. It is a never-ending noise. And if you don't defend your mind, you will become addicted to distraction. That is why you must train yourself to work without interruption. Even 1 hour of focused work each day can change your life. 1 hour a day consistently becomes hundreds of hours in a year, and hundreds of hours spent on growth creates a new identity. That is the secret. Not doing everything at once, but doing the right things consistently. You must also learn the power of saying no. Many people lose time because they cannot say no. They say yes to favors, Yes to pointless conversations. Yes to unnecessary events. Yes to distractions. Yes to obligations that drain them. And every yes costs them something. It costs them focus. It costs them energy. It costs them progress. A commander says no to anything that threatens the mission. And your mission is your future. This also applies to people. Some people are time thieves. They don't mean harm, but they waste your hours with drama, gossip, and negativity. Winners choose their environment carefully. They choose who gets access to their time, because time is not cheap. Time is priceless. And here is the most important truth. Controlling your time is not just about success. It is about self-respect. When you waste your time, you disrespect your own life. When you manage your time, you honor your future. So stop living like you have unlimited days. Stop acting like tomorrow is guaranteed. Treat every day as valuable. Treat every hour as important. Plan your day. Protect your focus. Remove distractions. Build routines. Learn to say no. And invest your best time into the things that build your life. Because when you control your time like a commander, you stop being a victim of life. You become the leader of your destiny. And that is when winning becomes natural. Chapter 8. Sharpen skills that make you dangerous. If you want to win at everything you do, you must understand that the world does not reward effort alone. The world rewards value. And value comes from skill. Skill is what makes you respected. Skill is what makes you confident. Skill is what makes you powerful in any room you walk into. A person without skill is always dependent. Dependent on luck. Dependent on opportunities. Dependent on other people's approval. Dependent on someone else to open a door. But a skilled person carries their value wherever they go, even if the environment changes, even if the economy changes, even if people doubt them, their skill gives them leverage. That is why sharpening your skills is not optional. It is survival. It is freedom. It is winning. Many people spend years chasing motivation, chasing inspiration, chasing shortcuts, but they ignore the one thing that guarantees progress: becoming better, becoming sharper, becoming more capable. Because when you become highly skilled, you don't have to beg for opportunities. Opportunities begin to chase you. Now, let's define what dangerous means. Dangerous does not mean violent. Dangerous means capable. Dangerous means you have the ability to produce results. Dangerous means you are not easily replaced. Dangerous means you can solve problems, create value, and perform under pressure. A dangerous person is a person who can be trusted with responsibility. And responsibility is what brings success. The world rewards problem solvers. It rewards builders. It rewards creators. It rewards people who can deliver results. And every result comes from a skill set. So the question becomes simple. What skills are you building right now? Most people don't lose because they lack dreams. They lose because they lack development. They have goals, but they don't upgrade themselves. They want a better job, but they don't improve their abilities. They want more money, but they don't increase their value. They want respect, but they don't become more competent. And life does not reward wishes. Life rewards growth. If you want to win, you must treat skill building like a daily responsibility. Not something you do when you have free time. Not something you do when you feel inspired. Skill building must become part of your identity. It must become your lifestyle. And here is the good news. You do not need to be the smartest person in the world to become skilled. You only need consistency. Skill is built through repetition, through practice, through patience, through failing and improving, through doing the same thing again and again until it becomes natural. That's how mastery is created. A major mistake people make is trying to do everything at once. They want to learn 10 skills at the same time. They start something, lose interest, and jump to something else. They get excited for a week, then disappear for a month. That is not growth. That is distraction disguised as ambition. A winner chooses a skill and commits to it. A winner says, "This is what I will master." They focus. They practice. They refine. They get better slowly but steadily. And after enough time, they become dangerous. The key is to focus on skills that create real leverage. Skills that increase your value in the marketplace. Skills that increase your influence. Skills that increase your ability to solve problems. Skills like communication, sales, leadership, writing, public speaking, negotiation, technical expertise, marketing, design, management, discipline, emotional control, and strategic thinking. These skills do not just improve your career, they improve your life. For example, communication is not just talking. Communication is influence. If you can communicate clearly, you can lead, you can inspire, you can persuade, you can negotiate, you can create opportunities. A person with strong communication skills can win in business, relationships, and leadership because they know how to express ideas and connect with people. Another skill that makes you dangerous is the ability to focus. Focus is a skill. In today's world, focus is rare. Most people are addicted to distraction. They cannot sit still. They cannot work deeply. They cannot concentrate. But if you can focus for long periods, you have an advantage that most people will never have. You can learn faster. You can build faster. You can execute faster. You can outperform without needing extra talent. Also understand this skill building is not always glamorous. It is often boring. It is repetition. It is doing the same thing again and again. It is practicing when nobody is clapping. It is improving in silence. And that is exactly why it works. Most people quit because they want excitement. Winners continue because they want results. Skill building also creates confidence in a way nothing else can. Real confidence is not pretending you are great. Real confidence comes from knowing you have done the work. It comes from knowing you can handle pressure because you have trained. It comes from knowing you have knowledge and ability. And when you have that kind of confidence, you walk differently, you speak differently, you think differently. You stop doubting yourself so easily because you have proof. Now here is an important truth. Skill alone is not enough. You must also apply your skill. Many people learn, but they never execute. They collect certificates, but they don't create results. They study, but they don't practice in real life. But a winner learns and applies, learns and applies, learns and applies. That is the formula. If you want to sharpen skills that make you dangerous, you must become obsessed with improvement. Not obsessed with perfection, but obsessed with progress. You must ask yourself, how can I get better this week? What can I practice today? What weakness can I strengthen? What ability can I sharpen? And then you must act. 1 hour of practice per day can transform your future. 1 hour a day is not impossible. 1 hour a day is not extreme. 1 hour a day is simply a decision. But 1 hour a day, over months and years, creates a level of mastery that makes you unstoppable. So don't chase success like it is outside of you. Build success inside of you. Upgrade yourself. Sharpen your mind. Sharpen your abilities. Sharpen your discipline. Sharpen your communication. Sharpen your execution. Because when you become skilled, you become powerful. And when you become powerful, winning is no longer something you hope for. winning becomes something you produce. Chapter 9. Turn failure into a training ground. If you want to win at everything you do, you must change the way you see failure. Because failure is not just an event. Failure is a teacher. Failure is a test. Failure is a training ground. And the way you respond to failure will determine the level of success you reach in your life. Most people fear failure because they think it means something about them. They think failure means they are not good enough. They think failure means they are not capable. They think failure means they should stop. But winners see failure differently. Winners see failure as feedback. They see it as proof that they are trying, proof that they are learning, proof that they are in the arena. The truth is simple: if you never fail, you are not aiming high enough. If you never fail, you are playing too safe. If you never fail, you are staying in comfort. And comfort may feel good, but comfort produces weak results. Failure is often the price of growth. Now, let's be clear. Failure can embarrass you. Failure can frustrate you. Failure can make you question yourself. But failure is not deadly. What is deadly is the meaning you attach to it. Many people fail once and then build a story around it. They tell themselves, "I always lose." They tell themselves, "I'm not meant for success." They tell themselves, "Nothing works for me," and that story becomes their prison. Failure is not the end. Quitting is the end. Giving up is the end. Letting one setback destroy your confidence is the end. But failure itself is not the enemy. Failure is part of the process. A winner understands that failure is temporary. It is a moment, not an identity. A winner doesn't say, "I am a failure." A winner says, "That attempt failed, but I'm still here." That mindset alone changes everything. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is learning how to recover quickly. Most people don't lose because they failed. They lose because they stay down too long. They lose because they stay emotional too long. They lose because they keep replaying the mistake in their mind. They lose because they turn a setback into a life sentence. Winners feel the pain, but they don't live in it. They take the lesson and they move forward. They understand that emotional strength is not pretending it doesn't hurt. Emotional strength is refusing to let the pain control your future. Here is the reality. Failure is a part of winning. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than you can imagine. They failed in private. They failed in public. They failed when people were watching. They failed when it mattered. But they did not allow failure to define them. They used it. They used it like a weapon. They used it as fuel. That is what you must learn to do. Turning failure into a training ground means you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That question is powerful because it takes you out of victim mentality and puts you into growth mentality. It turns pain into progress. Failure always carries a lesson. Sometimes the lesson is about preparation. Sometimes it is about discipline. Sometimes it is about patience. Sometimes it is about timing. Sometimes it is about your mindset. Sometimes it is about your habits. Sometimes it is about your environment. Sometimes it is about your strategy. But there is always a lesson. And if you learn the lesson, you win even when you lose. Many people waste their failures. They get angry. They complain. They blame. They feel sorry for themselves, and then they repeat the same mistake. That is not failure. That is stupidity. Failure becomes dangerous only when you refuse to learn from it. A winner does not waste failure. A winner studies it. A winner analyzes it. A winner breaks it down. They ask, "Where did I lose control? Where did I become lazy? Where did I ignore the warning signs? Where did I stop being disciplined? What would I do differently next time? This is how a winner upgrades. And upgrading is what creates long-term success. Another important part of handling failure is learning to separate your emotions from your decisions. After a setback, your emotions will want to take control. You may want to quit. You may want revenge. You may want to escape. You may want to hide. But you must learn to pause and breathe. You must learn to calm yourself. You must learn to think clearly. Because if you make decisions while emotional, you will often make weak decisions. Under emotion, you choose comfort. You choose shortcuts. You choose avoidance. But under clarity, you choose growth. You choose discipline. You choose progress. That is why winners don't react. They respond. Turning failure into a training ground also means you develop a stronger relationship with discomfort. Failure is uncomfortable. It exposes weakness. It forces humility. It reminds you that you are not in control of everything. And that is a good thing, because it builds character. A person who has never failed becomes arrogant. A person who has never struggled becomes fragile. But a person who has faced setbacks and survived becomes strong. They become grounded. They become wiser. They become harder to break. Failure builds endurance. Failure builds patience. Failure builds resilience. And resilience is one of the greatest winning traits you can have. Now here is something you must remember. The world does not reward perfection. The world rewards persistence. People respect the person who gets back up. People respect the person who keeps going. People respect the person who refuses to surrender. Not because they never fall, but because they rise again. So don't fear failure. Respect it. Expect it. Prepare for it. And when it comes, use it. Use failure to strengthen your discipline. Use failure to sharpen your strategy. Use failure to build mental toughness. Use failure to develop wisdom. Use failure to grow. Because when you stop being afraid of losing, you start becoming dangerous. And when failure no longer scares you, you begin to move faster. You take more action. You take more chances. You learn more, you improve more. And eventually your failures become fewer, because your skill becomes greater. In the end, failure is not what destroys people. It is what reveals them. It reveals who has excuses and who has hunger. It reveals who wants comfort and who wants growth. It reveals who is serious and who is only talking. So the next time you fail, don't treat it like a tragedy. Treat it like training. Treat it like practice. Treat it like preparation for your next victory. Because winners don't avoid failure. Winners use it. Chapter 10. Learn to outwork your old self. If you want to win at everything you do, you must understand that the greatest competition in your life is not other people. It is you. Not the current you, but the old you. The version of you that loves comfort. The version of you that makes excuses. The version of you that delays. The version of you that quits when things get hard. That is the enemy you must defeat if you want real progress. Because you can beat other people and still lose your life. You can impress others and still feel empty. You can look successful and still know deep inside that you are not living up to your potential. Winning is not about proving something to the world. Winning is about proving something to yourself. It is about becoming stronger than your weaknesses, becoming bigger than your habits, becoming more disciplined than your excuses. Outworking your old self means you stop comparing your journey to other people's journeys. You stop wasting energy looking left and right. You stop letting someone else's success make you feel small. You stop letting someone else's progress distract you from your own mission, because comparison is a thief. It steals your focus. It steals your peace. It steals your motivation. It makes you forget the real goal, and the real goal is growth. When you focus on outworking your old self, you measure success differently. You don't measure success by being ahead of others. You measure success by being ahead of who you used to be. You ask yourself, am I better than I was last month? Am I more disciplined than I was last year? Am I making choices today that my old self would avoid? If the answer is yes, then you are winning. This mindset changes everything, because it puts the power back in your hands. You may not control the economy. You may not control other people. You may not control opportunities. But you can control your effort. You can control your discipline. You can control your mindset. And that is enough to transform your life. Outworking your old self begins with honesty. You must be honest about where you are weak. Honest about what habits are holding you back. Honest about what you are avoiding. Many people stay stuck because they lie to themselves. They pretend they are doing their best, but they know they are not. They pretend they have no time, but they waste hours. They pretend they want success, but they choose comfort daily. Honesty is painful, but it is powerful, because once you see the truth, you can change it. The old version of you is not evil. The old version of you is simply untrained. It is the version of you that learned bad habits. The version of you that got comfortable with mediocrity. The version of you that settled. And that version of you will fight back when you try to grow. It will whisper excuses. It will create doubts. It will tempt you with comfort. It will remind you of your past failures. It will try to pull you back into the familiar. That is why self-improvement is a battle. Not a battle against the world, but a battle inside your own mind. Outworking your old self means you become stronger than your impulses. You stop acting based on what you feel in the moment. You start acting based on what you want long-term. You stop choosing short-term pleasure and start choosing long-term progress. This is where discipline becomes real, because anyone can work hard when they feel motivated. Anyone can be focused when life is easy. But can you outwork your old self on the days you feel tired? Can you outwork your old self when nobody is watching? Can you outwork your old self when you feel discouraged? That is the true test. And the truth is, your old self will always offer you the easy road. The old self will say, skip it today. The old self will say, you can start tomorrow. The old self will say, you deserve to relax. The old self will say, this is too hard. But the new self must respond with strength. The new self must say, no, not anymore. The new self must say, I am building something. The new self must say, I will not go back. This is how identity changes. Identity does not change through motivation. Identity changes through repeated action. Every time you choose discipline, you are rewriting who you are. Every time you choose focus, you are upgrading your mind. Every time you choose effort, you are building a stronger version of yourself. And what makes this powerful is that small improvements create massive transformation. You don't have to become a completely new person overnight. That is unrealistic. What you need is steady growth, daily progress, small wins that stack up. Outworking your old self can be as simple as waking up earlier than you used to. It can be as simple as working an extra hour on your craft. It can be as simple as choosing healthy food instead of junk. It can be as simple as reading instead of scrolling. It can be as simple as staying focused when you want to quit. These small choices may seem small in the moment, but they are building a new life. Because your life is not shaped by one big decision. It is shaped by thousands of small ones. Outworking your old self also means you stop looking for quick rewards. The old self wants fast results. The old self wants instant progress. The old self wants praise quickly. But the new self understands that success is built slowly. The new self understands delayed gratification. The new self understands patience. The new self understands that what matters is consistency. And consistency is where most people lose. Not because they don't know what to do, but because they can't stay with it long enough. They start strong and fade. They get excited and then disappear. They work hard for a week and then stop. That is the old self winning again. But if you want to win, you must become consistent. Not perfect. Consistent. Consistency is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Consistency is what separates those who talk from those who build. If your old self would waste time, focus. If your old self would complain, stay silent and work. That is how you outwork your old self, and when you do that long enough, you will look back and realize something incredible. You are no longer fighting to become disciplined. You are no longer forcing yourself to grow. You have become the kind of person who naturally does what others avoid. That is real winning. Not winning once, but winning daily. Winning through habits. Winning through identity, because in the end, the person you must defeat is not out there. It is the person you used to be. Chapter 11. Think like a strategist, not a dreamer. Dreaming is easy. Almost everyone dreams. People dream about success, freedom, respect, wealth, confidence, a better body, a better life. They imagine it. They talk about it. They feel excited about it. But dreaming alone does not change anything. If dreaming was enough, the world would be full of champions. Winning requires something more powerful than dreams. It requires strategy. A dreamer wants the result. A strategist builds the path. A dreamer waits for motivation. A strategist creates systems. A dreamer hopes things work out. A strategist prepares for what could go wrong. This is one of the most important shifts you can make in your life if you truly want to win at everything you do, because effort without strategy can still lead to failure. You can work hard for years and still be stuck if you are working in the wrong direction. You can be busy every day and still be broke. You can be exhausted and still make no progress. That is what happens when you act without thinking. That is what happens when you chase goals emotionally instead of strategically. A strategist understands that life is not only about working hard. Life is about working smart. Not in a lazy way, but in a wise way. A strategist asks questions before jumping into action. They ask, what is the best move? What is the highest value use of my time? What is the long-term outcome of this decision? If I keep doing this for 1 year, where will it take me? These questions create clarity. These questions separate winners from wishers. Thinking strategically means you stop making decisions based on temporary emotions, because emotions are unreliable. One day you feel brave, the next day you feel afraid. One day you feel confident, the next day you feel uncertain. If your decisions are based on emotions, your life becomes unstable. You will constantly start and stop. You will constantly change direction. You will constantly lose momentum. But strategy creates stability. Strategy creates consistency. Strategy gives you a plan that you can follow even when you don't feel inspired. A strategist also understands something that most people ignore. Every choice has a cost. Every yes is also a no. When you say yes to distractions, you say no to progress. When you say yes to comfort, you say no to growth. When you say yes to laziness, you say no to your future. This is why strategy is so powerful. It forces you to think about consequences. Dreamers think about what they want. Strategists think about what it will take. This is where many people fail. They underestimate the price. They want success, but they don't want the discipline. They want wealth, but they don't want the patience. They want respect, but they don't want the responsibility. They want a strong body, but they don't want the daily habits. They want the reward without the cost. A strategist accepts the cost early. They understand that if the goal is worth it, the price is worth it. They stop complaining about what it takes. They stop wishing for an easier road. They commit to the process with clarity. Thinking like a strategist also means you learn to simplify. Many people complicate their goals. They overthink. They try to do too much. They chase too many things at once. Their mind becomes crowded, and their progress becomes slow. A strategist knows how to focus on what matters most. They identify the few actions that create the biggest results. This is the power of leverage. Leverage is doing less, but getting more. It is choosing actions that multiply your results. It is not being busy all day. It is being effective. For example, if you want to improve your finances, working harder might help. But learning a valuable skill could help more. Building a business system could help more. Investing wisely could help more. Improving your network could help more. A strategist looks for leverage. They look for moves that create long-term advantage. And that is how winners build success faster than others. Another part of strategic thinking is planning for obstacles. Dreamers assume everything will go smoothly. Strategists assume challenges will come. They plan for them. They prepare for them. They build backup plans. They build discipline so strong that obstacles don't destroy them. This is why strategists don't panic easily. They already expected problems. They already accepted that setbacks are part of the journey. So when life hits them, they don't fall apart. They adjust. They adapt. They keep moving. Strategic thinking also requires patience. A strategist does not rush. They don't chase quick wins that destroy long-term growth. They understand that the best results take time. They understand that real success is built step by step, brick by brick. They are willing to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term power. This is what separates real winners from people who only look successful for a moment. Many people achieve temporary success and then lose it because they never built a foundation. They never built structure. They never built discipline. They never built strategy. They got lucky once, but they were not prepared to maintain it. A strategist builds foundations. They build systems. They build habits. They build long-term strength. Now, thinking strategically does not mean you stop dreaming. Dreams are important. Dreams give you direction. Dreams give you vision. But dreams must be supported by planning. supported by discipline, supported by execution. A dream without strategy is fantasy, but a dream with strategy becomes a mission. So start training yourself to think differently. Don't just ask, what do I want? Ask, what is the smartest way to get it? Don't just ask, what feels good today? Ask, what builds my future? Don't just ask, what is easy? Ask, what is effective? Don't just ask, what do I feel like doing? Ask, what must be done? That is the mindset of a strategist. Because when you think like a strategist, you stop being controlled by random events. You stop being controlled by moods. You stop being controlled by distractions. You become intentional. You become calculated. You become focused. And when strategy meets discipline, winning becomes predictable, not guaranteed overnight, not effortless, but predictable. Because now you are not just dreaming about success, you are building it. Chapter 12. Master People. Without losing yourself. If you want to win at everything you do, you must understand something most people learn too late. Success is not only about what you know, it is also about how you deal with people. You can be talented, hard-working, and intelligent, but if you cannot handle people, people will slow you down, stress you out, and sometimes even destroy opportunities that were meant for you. The truth is, life is built on connection. Business is built on trust. Careers are built on reputation. Leadership is built on influence. And influence is built on communication. That is why mastering people is not manipulation. It is wisdom. It is learning how to navigate human nature without losing your identity. Many people fail socially because they think being nice is the same as being respected. But respect is not given because you smile. Respect is earned because you carry yourself with confidence, clarity, and boundaries. Winning with people does not mean you become fake. It means you become aware. It means you understand that every human being is driven by emotions, ego, insecurity, desire, and fear. When you understand those forces, you stop being easily controlled by them. One of the most powerful skills you can develop is the ability to communicate clearly. Clear communication is strength. It prevents misunderstandings. It prevents conflict. It creates trust. And it makes people take you seriously. Many people lose opportunities because they speak without confidence. They speak without structure. They speak too much. Or they don't speak at all when they should. A winner learns to speak with purpose. A winner knows when to talk and when to stay quiet. A winner understands that words carry weight. The more you talk without meaning, the more people stop listening. But when you speak only when necessary, and you speak with clarity, people pay attention. This is one reason strong people don't beg for respect. They command it through presence. They command it through consistency. They command it through self-control. Now mastering people also means mastering yourself in front of people. This is where many lose. They allow other people's moods to control their mood. They allow insults to control their emotions. They allow criticism to break their confidence. They allow rejection to create bitterness. They allow jealousy to make them angry. They allow praise to make them arrogant. In other words, they become emotionally dependent on the behavior of others. But a winner is emotionally independent. A winner understands that people will talk, people will judge, people will misunderstand, people will envy, people will criticize. That is normal. But the winner does not let that noise decide their identity. They stay focused. They stay calm. They stay disciplined. Because emotional control is social power. If you can stay calm when someone is trying to provoke you, you win. If you can stay respectful while someone is disrespectful, you win. If you can stay focused while others are gossiping, you win. If you can keep your dignity while others lose theirs, you win. And here is another truth. Not everyone wants you to win. Some people want you to stay small because your growth reminds them of their weakness. Some people want you to fail because it makes them feel better about their own life. Some people will smile in your face, but secretly hope you lose. This is not paranoia. This is reality. So mastering people means you learn to read energy, read behavior, and read patterns. You learn to recognize who is supportive and who is jealous, who is loyal and who is fake, who is honest and who is opportunistic. And you learn not to argue with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. A winner does not waste energy trying to convince everyone. A winner does not chase approval. A winner does not explain their vision to people who have no vision. You must understand this clearly. Your future will be shaped by who you allow close to you. Your mindset is influenced by your environment. Your habits are influenced by your circle. Your confidence is influenced by the voices you listen to. If you surround yourself with negative, lazy, complaining people, their mindset will slowly enter your life, even if you don't notice it. That is why winners protect their environment. They choose their circle carefully. They respect people, but they don't give everyone access to their inner world. Now let's talk about boundaries, because boundaries are one of the most important parts of mastering people without losing yourself. A boundary is not aggression. A boundary is self-respect. A boundary is saying, this is what I allow, and this is what I do not allow. Many people struggle in life because they have weak boundaries. They allow disrespect. They allow manipulation. They allow people to waste their time. They allow people to drain their energy. And then they wonder why they feel exhausted and stuck. If you want to win, you must learn to say no. You must learn to walk away. You must learn to protect your peace. Because your peace is power. Your focus is power. Your time is power. And if you keep giving your power away to people who don't deserve it, you will never reach your full potential. At the same time, mastering people means you learn to be patient. Not everyone thinks like you. Not everyone moves like you. Not everyone has discipline. Not everyone has emotional maturity. So you must learn how to deal with different personalities. You must learn how to stay calm around emotional people. You must learn how to stay confident around arrogant people. You must learn how to stay respectful around difficult people. Because life will not give you perfect people. Life will give you real people. And your success will depend on your ability to handle them. A winner also learns the power of listening. Listening is not weakness. Listening is intelligence. When you listen, you learn. When you listen, you understand motives. When you listen, you gain information. Many people talk too much because they want to impress. But winners listen because they want to understand. And understanding gives you control. Another powerful rule: treat people with respect, but never sacrifice your self-respect. That is the balance. Be kind, but not weak. Be calm, but not passive. Be respectful, but not fearful. Be helpful, but not available to everyone. That balance is what creates real social strength. And finally, if you want to win with people, you must become reliable. People trust consistent behavior. They trust someone who keeps their word. They trust someone who shows up. They trust someone who delivers. If you want influence, be consistent. If you want respect, be dependable. If you want loyalty, be loyal. Your reputation will travel ahead of you. So remember, you don't need to manipulate people to win.
You don't need to fake your personality. You don't need to change who you are. You simply need to become emotionally disciplined, socially intelligent, and strong in your boundaries. Because when you can master people without losing yourself, you gain a powerful advantage. You become respected, you become trusted, you become confident, and you stop being easily distracted by drama, negativity, and useless conflict. In a world full of emotional chaos, the calm person always wins, and that calm person can be you.
Chapter 13. Protect your energy and your environment. If you want to win at everything you do, you must understand that your success is not only determined by your effort, it is also determined by what surrounds you. Your environment shapes your habits. Your habits shape your mindset. Your mindset shapes your decisions. And your decisions shape your future. That is why protecting your energy and your environment is not a small thing. It is not optional. It is one of the most powerful strategies for winning. Most people think their biggest enemy is a lack of motivation. But often, the real enemy is what drains them every day. The wrong people, the wrong routine, the wrong habits, the wrong distractions, the wrong influences. You can be a strong person, but if you stay in a weak environment long enough, that weakness will eventually affect you. Energy is life. If your energy is low, everything becomes harder. Your work becomes harder. Your focus becomes harder. Your focus becomes harder. Your mood becomes unstable. Your confidence becomes weaker. And the worst part is, many people lose energy without realizing why. They think they are lazy. They think they are unlucky. They think something is wrong with them. But the truth is, they are surrounded by things that quietly drain them. Protecting your energy begins with awareness. You must start paying attention to what gives you energy and what takes it away. Some things recharge you. Some things destroy you. Some people inspire you. Some people exhaust you. Some places make you think clearly. Some places make you feel trapped. And if you don't become aware of these patterns, you will keep living in a cycle of stress and confusion. One of the fastest ways to lose energy is to live in constant distraction. Distraction is not harmless. Distraction steals your attention, and attention is where your power lives. Every time you waste your attention on meaningless things, you lose focus. You lose momentum. You lose the ability to concentrate deeply. And when you lose concentration, your productivity collapses. A distracted mind is a weak mind, not because it lacks intelligence, but because it lacks direction. Your phone can be a tool, but it can also be a trap. Social media can be entertainment, but it can also be poison. Endless content can feel enjoyable, but it can also drain your ambition. It can fill your mind with noise until you can't hear your own thoughts. And when you can't hear your own thoughts, you lose your sense of purpose. That is why winners protect their attention. They guard it like a treasure. They don't allow random entertainment to control their mind. They don't allow constant notifications to interrupt their mission. They set boundaries. They reduce noise. They create space to think. Because thinking clearly is a form of strength. Another major part of protecting your environment is protecting your circle. The people around you influence your mindset more than you think. If you are surrounded by complainers, you will begin to complain. If you are surrounded by lazy people, you will begin to lower your standards. If you are surrounded by negative people, you will begin to doubt yourself. Even if you think you are strong enough to resist it, constant exposure will eventually affect you. This is why winners choose their friends carefully. They don't choose friends based on entertainment. They choose friends based on character.
They choose people who push them to grow, people who respect discipline, people who have goals, people who speak with purpose, people who bring peace, not drama. It is not about being selfish, it is about being wise, because your future is too important to be influenced by people who have no direction. Some people will call you changed when you start improving. They will say you're acting different. They will say you're too serious. They will say you think you're better than them. But what they really mean is that your growth makes them uncomfortable. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your progress reminds them of their own stagnation. And you must be strong enough to accept that. You must be strong enough to grow, even if others don't understand, because you cannot build a winning life while trying to keep everyone comfortable. Protecting your energy also means protecting your mind from negativity. Negativity is contagious. One negative conversation can poison your mood for hours. One toxic argument can destroy your focus. One jealous comment can create unnecessary anger. Winners don't waste time in emotional battles. They avoid unnecessary conflict. They don't argue with people who live for drama. They don't entertain gossip. They don't engage with pointless negativity. Not because they are afraid, but because they are focused. Focus is a rare form of wealth. And the more focused you are, the faster you win. Now, protecting your environment is not only about people, it is also about your physical space. Your room, your workspace, your home, your daily routine. A messy environment creates a messy mind. A chaotic environment creates stress. A disorganized space makes you feel overwhelmed even before you begin working. A winner understands the power of structure. They clean their space. They organize their tools. They remove distractions. They create an environment that supports productivity. They make it easier to do the right thing. Because the truth is, your environment either pushes you forward or pulls you backward. If you want to build discipline, build an environment that makes discipline easier. If you want to read more, keep books visible. If you want to train your body, keep your workout space ready. If you want to work deeply, remove distractions. If you want to stop eating junk, stop keeping junk around you. Don't rely on willpower alone. Design your environment for success. This is a winning strategy. Protecting your energy also means protecting your body. Your physical energy is connected to your mental strength. If you don't sleep properly, your discipline becomes weak. If you eat poorly, your focus becomes weak. If you never exercise, your mood becomes unstable. Many people try to build success while ignoring their health. But the truth is, you cannot win long-term with a weak body. A winner treats their body like a tool for performance. They rest. They recover. They fuel themselves properly. They build stamina because success requires energy. And energy requires discipline. Here is another important truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are constantly drained, constantly stressed, constantly surrounded by negativity, you will eventually burn out. Not because you are not capable, but because you are not protected. So learn to protect yourself. Protect your mind. Protect your space. Protect your time. Protect your attention. Protect your health. Protect your circle. Protect your peace. Because peace is not weakness. Peace is power. Peace gives you clarity. Peace gives you focus. Peace gives you strength. And when your energy is protected, your discipline becomes stronger. Your thinking becomes sharper. Your confidence becomes steadier. Your work becomes higher quality. Your goals become closer. In the end, winners don't just work hard. Winners also live smart. They create environments that support growth. They remove what drains them. They protect what builds them. Because you cannot win in a toxic environment. But when your environment becomes aligned with your goals, winning becomes not only possible, winning becomes natural.
Chapter 14. Stay hungry after you win. One of the most dangerous moments in a person's life is not when they are struggling, it is when they finally succeed. Because struggle builds hunger, but success often builds comfort, and comfort is a silent enemy. Comfort does not attack you loudly. It doesn't show up like failure does. Comfort shows up softly. It whispers, "Relax now." It whispers, "You've done enough." It whispers, "You deserve to slow down." And if you listen too long, your progress begins to fade. That is why staying hungry after you win is one of the greatest skills of a true winner. Many people believe the goal of success is to reach a point where you no longer have to push yourself. They think winning means resting forever, but that mindset destroys greatness. Because the moment you stop growing, you start falling behind. Life is always moving. The world is always evolving. And if you stop sharpening yourself, you will eventually become outdated. Winning is not a destination. Winning is a standard. The truth is, your first success is not your final victory. It is simply proof that you can do it. And if you are wise, you will use that proof to build even more. But if you are careless, you will use that proof as an excuse to become lazy. This happens to people more often than they realize. They achieve a goal, and they celebrate too long. They make progress, and they become satisfied too soon. They finally get attention, and they start chasing applause instead of improvement. They finally earn money, and they begin spending more than they build. They finally become respected, and they start believing their own hype. And slowly, without noticing, they lose the discipline that got them there. That is why success destroys people who don't have strong character. Staying hungry after you win means you never forget what it took to get there. You remember the late nights. You remember the sacrifices. You remember the discipline. You remember the moments when you wanted to quit but kept going. You remember the hunger you had when nobody believed in you, and you carry that hunger into your next level. A real winner does not let success make them soft. A real winner lets success make them sharper. This is where humility becomes powerful. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. Humility is remembering that there is always more to learn, always more to improve, always more to build. Humility keeps you grounded. It keeps you focused. It keeps you disciplined. Because when you become arrogant, you stop listening. When you stop listening, you stop learning. And when you stop learning, you stop growing. The world is full of talented people who rose quickly and then fell even faster, because they stopped respecting the process. They thought the work was over. They thought they had arrived. They thought the title, the money, the achievement was enough. But the truth is, success must be maintained. Success must be protected. Success must be earned again every day through discipline. This is why winners keep training even after they win. A champion does not stop practicing because they won one match. A champion practices even harder because now they have something to defend. They know the world is watching. They know competitors are studying them. They know expectations are higher. And they understand that staying on top requires more discipline than reaching the top. It takes effort to climb, but it takes even more character to stay there. Staying hungry also means you don't allow your lifestyle to grow faster than your discipline. Many people get money, and they upgrade their comfort immediately. Bigger expenses,
bigger luxuries, bigger distractions, and soon they become trapped by the very lifestyle they created. Their hunger disappears because they are surrounded by comfort. Their drive fades because life feels too easy. But winners upgrade their mindset before they upgrade their lifestyle. They stay focused on building stability. They stay focused on investing in growth. They stay focused on protecting their future. They don't confuse success with spending. They don't confuse winning with showing off. They understand that real wealth is not what you display. Real wealth is what you keep, what you build, and what you multiply. Another danger after winning is losing your edge. Your edge is the hunger that made you unstoppable. It is the discipline that made you consistent. It is the fire that made you work when others were resting. And the truth is, your edge can disappear if you stop challenging yourself. That is why winners set new goals immediately after achieving old ones. They don't allow themselves to drift. They don't allow themselves to become bored. They don't allow themselves to fall into comfort. They keep pushing forward. They keep raising the standard. But here is something important. Staying hungry does not mean you never enjoy your success. You should celebrate. You should appreciate your progress. You should feel proud of what you achieved. But you must celebrate with control. You must celebrate without losing discipline. You must celebrate without losing your focus. A winner celebrates, then returns to work. Because the hunger is not about stress. The hunger is about purpose. The hunger is about growth. The hunger is about becoming better. And the most powerful hunger is internal. It is not hunger for applause. It is not hunger for attention. It is hunger for mastery. Hunger for excellence. Hunger for becoming the strongest version of yourself. When you have that kind of hunger, success does not make you lazy. Success makes you more serious. Another powerful habit of winners is remembering where they came from. Not to stay stuck in the past, but to stay grateful. Gratitude protects you from arrogance. Gratitude reminds you that your success is built on effort, lessons, and sometimes pain. And when you stay grateful, you stay grounded. And when you stay grounded, you stay consistent. So the question is simple. What will you do after you win? Will you relax until you lose everything again? Or will you use success as fuel to go further? Because the world is full of people who were once successful. But the world respects the person who stays successful. The person who stays disciplined. The person who stays sharp. The person who stays hungry. So stay hungry after you win. Keep improving. Keep learning. Keep building. Keep sharpening yourself. Keep raising your standards. Because the greatest victory is not winning once. The greatest victory is becoming the kind of person who never stops winning.
Chapter 15. Make winning your identity. At the highest level, winning is no longer something you do. Winning becomes who you are. That is the final stage. That is the real transformation. Because if winning is only an action, you may win sometimes and lose other times. But if winning becomes your identity, you begin to win consistently. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. This is what separates temporary success from lasting success. Temporary success comes from motivation, luck, or a short burst of effort. Lasting success comes from identity. It comes from standards that don't change. It comes from discipline that doesn't disappear. It comes from habits that are built into your lifestyle. It comes from a mindset that is trained and stable. When winning becomes your identity, you no longer depend on inspiration. You no longer depend on other people's approval. You no longer depend on perfect conditions. You show up because that is what you do. You work because that is who you are. You stay disciplined because discipline is your nature. This is not a small thing. This is the ultimate goal of personal growth. To become the kind of person who naturally performs at a high level. Many people spend their lives chasing a feeling. They chase motivation. They chase excitement. They chase confidence. They chase the perfect moment. But a winner stops chasing feelings and starts living by principles. Principles do not change with mood. Principles do not change with weather. Principles do not change with stress. Principles remain solid. And when you build your life on principles, you build a life that cannot easily collapse. Making winning your identity begins with one powerful decision. You must stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying. Trying is weak language. Trying is uncertain language. Trying gives you permission to fail and walk away. But winning requires commitment. It requires ownership. It requires the belief that you are not experimenting with your life. You are building it. So you stop saying, I'm trying to be disciplined, and you start saying, I am disciplined. You stop saying, I'm trying to be focused, and you start saying, I am focused. You stop saying, I'm trying to become successful, and you start saying, I am becoming the kind of person who succeeds. Words matter because words shape identity. The way you speak to yourself becomes the way you think. The way you think becomes the way you act. And the way you act becomes the life you live. Your identity is built through repetition. Every time you choose the hard path, your identity becomes stronger. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your identity becomes stronger. Every time you resist temptation, your identity becomes stronger. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it, your identity becomes stronger. Eventually you stop fighting yourself. You stop negotiating. You stop doubting. Discipline becomes normal. Focus becomes normal. Growth becomes normal. That is what it means to make winning your identity. Now understand this clearly. Identity is not built through big speeches. Identity is built through small daily actions. The person you become is not determined by what you do once. It is determined by what you do repeatedly. That is why your habits are so important. Your habits are the evidence of your identity. If you consistently waste time, your identity becomes weak. If you consistently procrastinate, your identity becomes unstable. If you consistently avoid challenges, your identity becomes fearful. But if you consistently take action, your identity becomes strong. If you consistently show discipline, your identity becomes powerful. If you consistently push yourself, your identity becomes unstoppable. A winner is not someone who wins once. A winner is someone who refuses to live beneath their standards. That is the key, standards. When winning becomes your identity, you build rules that you do not break. These rules become your personal code. They become your law. They become your backbone. For example, you may decide, I don't waste my mornings, or I don't quit when I'm tired, or I don't allow excuses to control me, or I don't disrespect my own potential. These rules become your foundation, and the strongest people in the world are not the ones with the most motivation. They are the ones with the strongest personal code. This is also where self-respect becomes real. Self-respect is not something you demand from others. Self-respect is something you earn from yourself. It is built when you live with discipline. It is built when you act with integrity. It is built when you keep your promises. It is built when you do what is right, even when it is difficult. When you respect yourself, you stop chasing validation. You stop begging people to notice you. You stop needing applause, because your confidence comes from your own behavior. You know who you are, because you have proven it to yourself. That kind of confidence is unshakable. Making winning your identity also means you stop living based on short-term emotions. Emotions are temporary. They rise and fall, but identity is stable.
Identity is who you are when nobody is watching. Identity is what you do in silence. Identity is how you behave when the excitement is gone. Identity is your discipline on an ordinary day. This is where real greatness is built, not in the big moments, but in the quiet ones, the early mornings, the lonely workouts, the hours of focus, the days when nobody cares, the days when progress is slow. Those are the days that build identity. And when your identity is strong, your future becomes strong. Now, here is the final truth. Winning is not just about money. Winning is not just about achievement. Winning is not just about status. Winning is about becoming a complete person. A person with discipline, a person with control, a person with purpose, a person who can handle pressure, a person who can lead themselves, a person who can build something meaningful. That is the highest form of winning. So make winning your identity. Make discipline your nature. Make growth your lifestyle. Make excellence your standard. Not because you want to impress the world, but because you refuse to waste your life. Because when you build a winning identity, you don't need luck. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need approval. You become the kind of person who creates success wherever you go. And once you become that person, winning is no longer something you chase. Winning becomes something you live.
Conclusion. Winning is not a moment. Winning is not a trophy. Winning is not a lucky break that happens once and changes everything. Winning is a way of living. It is a mindset you build, a discipline you practice, and a standard you refuse to lower. If you take one message from this audiobook, let it be this: you can win at everything you do, but only when you stop leaving your life to chance. The world is not designed to reward wishes. It rewards preparation. It rewards consistency. It rewards the person who keeps showing up when others disappear. You have now heard the winning formula from every angle. You learned that it begins with a decision, a real decision. Not a temporary burst of motivation, but a firm commitment. You learned that standards are the foundation of greatness, that your life will rise or fall based on what you tolerate. You learned how pressure can either break you or build you, depending on how trained your mind is. You learned that action must come before confidence, and that discipline must become non-negotiable if you want long-term success. You learned that time is your most valuable currency, and that every wasted hour is a piece of your future you will never recover. You learned that skill is power, and that becoming valuable makes you unstoppable. You learned that failure is not your enemy unless you refuse to learn from it. You learned that the real competition is your old self, and that the goal is to outgrow the person you used to be. You learned that strategy is what turns dreams into results, that people's skills are essential, and that your environment can either strengthen you or poison you. And most importantly, you learned that true winners stay hungry even after success, because they understand comfort is the beginning of decline. They don't chase winning once. They build an identity that produces winning again and again. Now the question becomes simple. What will you do with what you've learned? Knowledge without action is nothing. Inspiration without discipline fades quickly. A powerful audiobook can light a fire, but only your daily choices can keep that fire alive. This is where your real journey begins. Not tomorrow, not next month. Today, in this audiobook, we will not measure winning by applause or attention. We measure winning by progress, by discipline, by consistency, by your ability to keep promises to yourself. Because the greatest victory is not defeating others. The greatest victory is defeating the weakness inside you that tries to hold you back. So walk forward with standards. Walk forward with courage. Walk forward with focus. And when life challenges you, remember this:
You were not built to live small. You were built to grow, to rise, and to win. The art of winning is now in your hands. Now go prove it.